Okay, guys, this is part two. There's a thread going around our 10 most played albums. I started thinking about it. In part one of this video, I showed stuff that was like from the 70s and 80s, stuff I grew up listening with. But there's a lot more that I've overplayed, or just tons of albums I played repeatedly, CD in the car, cassette, whatever. So I'm going to do a part two right now. And I'm going to do a part three, and that's just going to be music of the 2000s. But this is part two of my 10 most played albums. Black Sabbath. I love this album. I've had this album since junior high school. Masters of Reality. Jeff Witcher. Just a great series on deep dives of Black Sabbath. You've got to check out Jeff Witcher's videos about that. But Masters of Reality, again, I've been playing that for 40 years. This came out in '88. Had it on CD. Played the heck out of it when I was in radio. There were two songs off here that we were playing, man. Well, I was playing, man. Of course, it was Rain and... what was the third one? I believe it was Stranger Blues. But Rain was a big song. Great blues, Texas blues song. Look at Johnny Winter in his prime, man. I loved that man. He's awesome. My favorite guitar player. I'm not saying he's the best. I'm saying he's a badass, though he was. Rest in peace, Johnny. Uncle Tupelo. Man, this music, it just got in my soul. I've been playing this one 30 years. Uncle Tupelo, No Depression. Johnny Cash, when this came out, I had a life-size poster of Johnny Cash. This picture, it was just him like that, right? And hung in my office, behind my chair in my office. Huge! And when I left K-Fan, 1079 The Fan, I did not have the heart to take it down. Plus the program director was like watching me heavy in my last week. I'm just kidding. By the way, I'm going to throw a shout out to J.D. Rose, a former boss of mine who taught me every single thing about radio. He was our program director. He's the one that made me music director. He just got into the Texas Music Hall of Fame, radio station Hall of Fame. So congratulations, J.D. Rose. Another one, I picked this up in the 80s. A little late to the game, probably about 10 years late to the game when I got it. Little Criminals. This is definitely my top 20 favorite albums. Fantastic. Very satirical guy, man. Short People. It's a goofy song, but he's talking about how stupid and ignorant it is to be a bigot. So if you get the music, you get the music. Randy Newman. Thousands of spins. When I was a teenager, I played the hell out of this. Picked it up a couple years ago. Again, Sex Pistols. Played the snot out of it. Suicidal Tendencies. I wore this out when it came out, man. Heavily played in my youth. And like I said, I'm going to do a part three where I'm more into modern times. Willie Nelson. Even though I was into punk and stuff like this, I love this album. I got it when it came out. Had Always on My Mind on this album. And there's a song on this album called The First Thing I Needed. Or is it The Last Thing I Needed? The First Thing This Morning. It was written by Gary P. Nunn. And I was a kid when that came out, probably 10th grade. Flash forward 10 years later, I got to meet that singer-songwriter, Gary P. Nunn. Man, that was a really cool experience. It was actually the first radio interview I ever did. James McMurtry, Candyland. Incredibly cool album. Columbia Records. His album that was previous to this was produced by John Cougar Mellencamp. And I remember interviewing James McMurtry. He said, man, what was it like working with John Cougar Mellencamp? And I was about to take notes or something because I was expecting a long, story. It was okay. James McMurtry, a man of few words, but an incredible songwriter. There's a song called Safe Side on this album. It's fantastic. And there's another song called Where's Johnny? And if you have not heard Where's Johnny, please look that up on Spotify or YouTube. Crazy good song. This is one I got turned on to late in life, 1999, Love Supreme, but it's been heavily on my CD player or on my record player since. That's part 2. Look forward to. Maybe you're not looking forward. You probably don't care, but I'm going to do a part 3 of what I'm wearing out now. What in the 2000s, what I'm playing the most of. Peace, guys. Be good to each other and be good to yourself.